Good afternoon. It is Club Call with myself, and also
Not ready for that.
you're not. What do you mean you're not ready for? You're ready
I'm
for
ready.
it.
Hey.
You're right there.
I know, but I went ready. I didn't know we were going right into that.
There you go. Me and James, but James has to sit over there because obviously, if you want a phone in, James has to be the guy who takes the phone calls. So that's why he's sitting over there in his wardrobe of shirts. So yeah, if you want to give us a call, please do. We're talking about changes because there's going to have to be a change at the weekend. James, it's Wednesday. It's quite early. What have you got a plan? Are you thinking about what we should be doing on Sunday?
I think it's hard to say I've got a plan because it feels like we do the right stuff, but it's like a toothless dog approach, isn't it? Like everything's right going up to it. We're barking loud and everything, and then just the last bit we're gonna bite them, and then we just don't do it.
A toothless dog.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's frustrating. I was actually seen a thing before. I think Baz actually sent it in over to us. Most chances created in the Premier League this season: Jack Grealish 17, and Kieran Dewsbury Hall 13.
So it's like we do nice build up, but I feel like we're like 2 or 3 players away from just having a really, really good team, but it's just them 3 that are holding us back so much.
Yeah, I think not having a centre forward also is the main issue, isn't it? It's the thing that's going to stop you. The thing that's going to stop you scoring the goals is not having a centre forward. So,
and it's an awkward position as well because I know people say, playing Dye up there. I've seen people say play Alcaraz up there as well, but it's like, what message is that sending to Barry and to Beto if you're playing like someone out of position up there? For Barry, we've signed with the ambition of him eventually be a good forward. It's like you're playing in Dye or Alcaraz. It's like it's already putting him down, isn't it? It's like that confidence where you should be getting minutes and things. And it's the same with Asnu as well. That's what I was frustrated about because it's like if he weren't going to play in the games against Wolves and stuff, when is he going to play for Everton? No. What games? Are we going to have to wait till the FA Cup before he gets serious minutes for the first team?
And then people will fume about him playing in the FA Cup because we haven't gone full strength.
It's just like, what are we meant to do?
No, we're going to have to make changes, aren't we? Next 2 games, we're going to have to make changes. Obviously, Dewsbury Hall this week and Jack Grealish when we come back from the international break against Manchester City. So changes are going to have to be made. So this is the opportunity. And, Moyes will have to either bring Tyler Diblin in or for this week maybe play Njai, Tyler Diblin and Grealish in those 3 positions. And then obviously when it comes to that game, it might be Njai on the left and Diblin on the right and Kieran Dewsbury Hall back into that position. So
I listened to, you on the show this morning, you talked to Baz about it, saying about, with Dewsbury Hall not being available for Palace, it's that you play Jack Grealish there, you're playing and die. Say if Dewsbury Hall plays in that position, that's his position ultimately, isn't it? So, say Jack Grealish has a good game there, what do you do with him? Or is it just a thing of he doesn't get in? Because I feel like he's sort of it's that back 3 is almost the undroppable ones, but obviously they're not. I don't the output now.
I don't think there's anyone. I don't think there's anyone undroppable. But then I think with Moyes, it's like you're looking for the weakest position, and I think this is like going back to what Jake O'Brien had when he came into the team. Was it's looking for players in those weak positions. So instead of, and I think David Moyes is more likely to play a player maybe like Njai up front, and then have Diblin and have Grealish, and then have Kieran Dewsbury Hall, rather than saying I'm going to persist with a player who's not doing it and leave one of his better players. He'll find a place for his best players. Anyway, you've heard enough from me. Yeah. We got Brien Garside.
No, we've got Eddie.
We got Eddie first. Sorry, I thought we had Brien. Go on, get Eddie on. Let's get Eddie on.
1 second, Eddie. I'm just putting you in. Hello?
Hello, Ed. Go on, mate.
Hi, how you doing?
We're good, man. We're good.
So what I wanted to talk about is I don't like the way we're playing, at least right now. I
Okay.
think Moyes has done a really good job, and I respect what he's done. But I feel our play style is just very lopsided.
Yeah.
And it also like I think our strikers could do better, but I don't feel we're doing much for them either. Like I
Mm,
don't like in the West Ham game personally, Beto didn't do much, and I agree that like he did not play very well. But I also didn't feel like there was many options given to him to like do anything. We played out wide instead of playing central, which is fair because our two best players are on the wings. But
mm.
the the crosses, I feel we've turned into a team that just crosses the ball a lot.
But don't you
And
think, Ed? Don't you think, Ed, that comes down to the centre forward? No, not making runs, not like going in behind, because a lot is on the centre forwards to go in behind the defenders, and I just don't think that's something Beto's doing.
oh no, I agree. I think Beto, like I don't know what happened over the summer. He's not as aggressive as he once was, and it looks like
Mm,
there is like a lack of passion that he had before.
yeah,
Um, because it does seem like he is putting less effort, but I don't know if that's down to him not
yeah,
making runs because he's told not to make runs because that's not the way we play anymore, and it's more about um like I don't know. I
yeah,
think
yeah,
we do need a third striker though. Personally, like
yeah, yeah.
I agree with like what you said in the final word. I think Dom would have been perfect for the system because his
Mm,
link up play would have been key to like the way we've been playing recently.
yeah.
I also don't. I was very frustrated at the end of the transfer window with the lack of a right back, and I just feel that has come to bite us now.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's just best to like switch formations to go three at the back or something. Instead of playing him out of position, play three center backs and do like I don't know three. I don't know how that would work. That would put us in a lot of defensive worry.
Mm.
But I think maybe three at the back would suit Jake better personally. Or like if you wanted to be defensive, you do five at the back. But then I don't think you would get much progression anyway. But
Yeah.
um, I don't know. I just feel that there has to be like a change in either the way we play or the I don't know. Like a specialist would be key as well. Like with a striker coach, like they do it in all U.S. sports. Like you have
Yeah.
specialists for like every position, and I just don't understand why that's not like something seen as much over in like
Well,
soccer. Well,
it
go for
is
it.
though. I mean, the irony is, Eddie. Sorry to cut you off, mate. The irony is, it is in like in certain things like set pieces and in like throw-ins and things like that. They're willing to
Yeah,
get like, but they're not willing to like go. Oh, we're gonna have a defensive coach or a forward coach. It's like it's almost like football just can't get out of its own way at times to make those changes. And then yet, as I just said, then when they have like set piece coaches, it's like it's totally accepted because it's almost like a separate part of the game. I don't get it, and you're absolutely right. American sports are so you're looking for all of the
it's
inches
all
everywhere.
analytics about yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Because like in
yeah,
the NFL, you have like an offensive coordinator who's in charge of the offense, but then
mm,
he has like a quarterback coach, he has a wide receiver coach, he has like
yeah,
an offensive line coach for each position. And like even like EA, like the FIFA
yeah.
game, they have an attacker coach you can hire now, like when you do a career mode. And
Maybe we
I
should
just
just
find
hire
it
him.
so yeah, like and it's just I feel like there is like a lack of creativity in what we're doing because a lot of I don't think we're creating enough opportunities, and that I
Mm.
think that's like
Maybe we're just not creating the right opportunities. If that
yeah,
makes
that I
sense
guess that's the better way to put it.
Yeah, yeah. I think we're creating opportunities, and I think the numbers don't lie that we're creating opportunities. I just don't think we're creating the right opportunities. I've said a couple of times, and I'm not having a go at Jack Grealish, but I do think he still thinks he's playing with the quality of play that he had at Manchester City, and I think he might have
Yeah,
to just temper that slightly and realise that he's not playing with players who are on the same wavelength as him. I've seen this
yeah,
before at Everton, and it almost, I've seen it to the point where it makes the really, really good player seem like he's bad because he's creating these unbelievable opportunities that nobody else sees, but that one talented player. And that can be the issue when you've got one talented player and everyone else is a little bit lower down the run, is that they just don't see it. And I think at times I'd like him to just go, you know what, I'm going to do what's best for you rather than create this unbelievable opportunity.
I agree, because there's been times where I feel he does slow it down, which is fine because that's the way he plays. But then when he slows it down, he could have crossed it, and I feel better, specifically Beto is better in positions where the ball's just in front of him, and and that's how I feel even for Barry because of how young striker he is. But I don't know. I just think there has to be some sort of change in either the coaching scheme or what he told the players to do.
It's evolving, isn't it? It's always going to... It's like, we had a great start, so it's like everyone's on a high and we're creating goals and Jack Grealish is creating goals, and then it comes down to almost coming back to reality. I mean, where we are is literally where we probably should be. Like I was saying before on the earlier show, I have this metric where it's if you take 4 points out of 3 games, you're going to finish mid-table. It's guaranteed, isn't it? You're gonna get, so if that's a win, a draw, and a loss every 3 games, you're gonna finish mid-table. And where we are right now is we are bang on that metric, and that's exactly where I thought we probably would be. Yeah, and I think we all have to temper our. I think we all have to look at it and just think it's great that we've got Jack Grealish and it's great that we're improving, but we're still really far away, aren't we, from the place we want to be? But as you said there, it's James said there, it's you get 3 players, the next 3 players. But 3 players is also, a quarter of a team. So if you get 3 quality players in, and one of them is Branthwaite, by the way, coming back. Yeah. So that's one player straight away. And then it's a case of if we can get that right back in January, I'd say. But then but the problem is it's the centre forward, and that's either giving Barry time or buying another one who's almost like an emergency cover, and that's not easy. I mean, we all know how difficult. It's the hardest, most expensive position in football. They're not I suppose if I'm going to go back to what you're saying about American football, it's quarterbacks in American football don't exactly...
Yeah, they get paid the most,
but they don't exactly grow on trees either, do they? The very, very best. You look at Kansas and you think, how lucky were they to get Mahomes? Do you know what I mean? It's he is defined a generation of that sport, and it's the same with centre forwards. They just don't come along that often anymore that are going to score. We've been very lucky, and I think everyone watching this has been very lucky to have seen Lukaku, but Lukaku's just don't come on. They don't grow on trees. It's a once in a generational thing for a club like Everton to have a striker like Lukaku, but we still judge all our centre forwards by Lukaku, and I feel like Dominic Calvert-Lewin got the wrong end of that at times. But we really do judge all our centre forwards, and there's just not that many out there who are anywhere near as good as him, or even as good as Richarlison was for us now. It's a real struggle.
I would take him back if we could on loan. But the last thing I wanted to end on was,
go on, mate.
I wonder if Grealish, I think he's been a great player, but I feel that's tempered our expectations and accelerated our growth. Because if you take him out of our team, I don't think we're much
better.
Our expectations wouldn't be as high. So, and with him being alone, I feel that's why there is a sense of we need to do better, because who knows if he comes back next year.
Yeah. I think no, you're right. But I think also we do have Tyler Diblin, who is at the very beginning of his football career for Everton. And I think, to just dismiss him, I know you're not dismissing him, but he could be, if we
Grealish 2.0, yeah.
Yeah, if the money they're asking for Grealish becomes really, really silly, because there's no way Everton aren't going to ask the question, how much you want for him. But if it is silly, then Everton will go, well, let's see who else is prepared to pay it. And if they're not, then Everton might, I don't know, just get him again on loan or something. I don't know. I don't know what City would do. But the idea is to give Diblin the best possible year he can, but without sort of overstretching him and without putting unrealistic expectations on him as well. I think that's the other thing, and I think that's the thing with Barry as well. It's we can't. We can't have unrealistic expectation for these players, and that's just where we are at the moment.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Thank you for letting me rant. I
No
just,
worries,
I
mate.
the
That's what we're
last
here
couple
for.
games have just been like a little annoying to watch.
Yeah, that's what we're
But
here for.
have a good one, y'all.
Nice one, mate. Speak to you later.
Bye.
There we go. That was Eddie in Texas.
We've got Fruin next.
Fruin, get Fruin on. Hello, Fruin.
How are you? All right.
I'm all right, mate.
Yeah. So just wanted to talk about Everton's relationship with, I think it's the Japanese club Nagoya Grampus.
Yeah, Grampus 8.
Yeah. I wanted to know, like, can this really benefit the club? And looking at other teams like Brighton, they've got partnerships with Hibernian. I think it's Union Saint. I can't say the team name in Belgium, but
Julien.
yeah, that team.
Julien, yeah.
With our player development system, some of the players that we brought in, like Asnu and Barry, and other young players from abroad, they managed to really loan these players out almost instantly once they've signed them to really get them first team minutes under the belt. I know obviously we're not at that kind of level, but do you think we could really do that with this club that we've got, or do you think we really need to start looking at doing partnerships across Europe maybe and loaning our players there, because it's kind of like a situation where we've got these players on the bench, even the under 21s, and they're not really getting first team minutes. And I wanted to say an alternative was, because we don't really have Europe, could we get some like friendlies,
in Saudi Arabia?
Maybe something like that. Like, I'm not sure. Like, just to get these players up to speed a little bit quicker, because it is a bit frustrating to see these type of players. I feel like the development's a bit slower compared to how you see other clubs operate, and they treat their players. So, just want to know your thoughts on that, really.
Well, the first one I've asked about that one actually before. I've asked people at the club about that link up. And I think that link up was already in place with Roma. I think it's more to do with the Freakins, and I don't know if it ties in. I can't see for exactly whether it ties in with Toyota. But I know it was already in place with Roma. So I think that what they've done is extended that to Everton. Now, I honestly don't know what the benefits are for Everton, but I've been told that it's great because everything's great. So I don't know what the benefits are. I don't even know if it's a football thing. I just know that there are benefits to it, and as I said, they've been doing it with Roma. So whether that's it's a commercial deal, and somehow I don't know whether we've got representation in their club shop. I know they haven't got any representation in our club shop, which is a shame, because I think I'd like to buy some Grand Passate stuff. So I don't know. I think I wouldn't want a relationship with them that would see maybe players go and play over there, because I do think that's a little bit sort of, well, it's massively out of sight, out of mind. But in terms of that, what you're talking about there, I've banged the drum, and Baz has banged the drum for many a year about Everton having some kind of sister club now, or if you want to call it a feeder club. No, I don't, but that's not Roma. We're two similar clubs, they're doing brilliantly. They've had a great start to the season, funny enough, in Italy. I think they're on joint top. They're a big club. They're not one of the biggest clubs, but they're a big club, so they're similar to us. We need, I think, a club between us that can take talent, whether it be our under 21s or players we sign, and somewhere to put them. And that could be Roma players, and that could be Everton players. Now, they own a team, and the Freegans own a team in France, but I believe it's in like the 3rd division. So why not put money into that team, try and get them up to at least the 2nd division, or maybe the 1st division if you've put enough money in them, and give Everton a place and Roma a place where we can put players on loan, at Harrison Armstrong, whoever else, Adam Asnu, as he is right now. When you're looking at players Why not have a plan where you're like, I'm going to put that player on loan there for a year and then we're going to take them. They need a year of development. We can't give them that in the Premier League, so let's send them out there on loan. To me, that makes the most sense. I think we've been banging this drum for a while. Liverpool, I think, are about to try and get Toffee, or have been negotiating to get Toffee. Burnley have got someone in Spain. Obviously, Chelsea have got Strasbourg, and they've had a team in Holland before that. Man City have got, is it
Girona?
Well, they've got 9.
Yeah.
They've got 9 other teams, but like Girona are probably the best version because they were high up in the Spanish league. So there's got to be, Everton have got to start thinking like that, and the Friedkin group have got to start thinking like that. Brighton have got Lorient, not Brighton, Bournemouth. Got Lorient.
Yeah.
They've got Lorient, so the owner owns both teams. And not only is it good for player development, as Chelsea has shown, it's good for PSR. You can get that. You can buy. They bought. Who did they buy? And it was through Blueco.
Brien or whatever.
And they put him at Strasbourg, didn't they?
Yeah, but then he did end up going to Strasbourg. He went straight to Chelsea.
Yeah, but there's other players. They sent Chilwell.
Yeah.
Sent Chilwell.
Ishii Samuel Smith was meant to go there and then to come back.
It's good for PSR as well. You can buy players, or you can loan players, or you can sell players to that other club and park them there when you're struggling for PSR. And I think that's something the Friedkin group really need to look at. And as I said, it wouldn't work with Roma because Roma are not going to take our off cuts and we're not going to take theirs. So maybe that's where that is. But the Japanese one, listen, let's see how it works. I don't know how it works exactly, but we'll see. What was your second question?
It was about. I've actually forgotten now. I think it was about. What was I saying? Oh yeah, about friendlies. Sorry.
Friendlies.
Yeah. So because we don't have Europe, and obviously these players who are on the bench, on in the under 21s, whatever, not really getting much minutes. We're not in many competitions, so I have seen a few teams do these, like not so much recently, but in the past, like they have organised friendlies, to try and get match fitness and stuff for players, even injured players. So just want to know your thoughts on that. If that's a possibility.
No, it's a topical comment because Manchester United are supposed to be lining up a series of friendlies in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, that's why I said that.
Yeah, so I mean, but that's Manchester United, and they're doing it for finances. You're absolutely right, and again, it's something we spoke about in the last couple of weeks. Is that the when you're in Europe and stuff, you've got like basically 10 guaranteed games now. So you've got lots of opportunities to use your players that are in your squad. Forest are going to be able to use loads of their players this season because all they have to do really is win like half the games and they'll go through. And all the other teams will be exactly the same. So you can use players. Palace could be able to use players. Teams who are in the Champions League will be able to use players. So it's You're in there, you can buy players knowing that you need a bigger squad and you can play them. But for a club like us, you're absolutely right. And this was actually like the downfall of Moyes the first time he was at the club was we'd get into Europe and then we wouldn't buy players. Obviously the benches are a lot smaller then. We wouldn't buy players. And we'd have a smaller squad. And because we had a smaller squad, we couldn't cope with being in the league and Europe. And then we'd struggle because we didn't have the finances to have a large bench because we couldn't carry players who were on big wages who weren't on the bench. So we couldn't get the balance right, which is so frustrating now because it would be completely different now. But I don't know. I don't know. Are we attractive enough to be able to get lucrative friendlies? I'm not sure. And is there enough? I don't know whether there's enough in those games to risk players for other players' development and how much would you develop? I imagine, listen, there's always been things, they're called bounce games. They've been around forever where you might bus, you might get on a Tuesday or a Wednesday in training, you might bring a team in from the lower division to play behind closed doors at your training ground or whatever. And of course we saw one at the beginning of the season at Hill Dickinson Stadium. Was it Port Vale? Port Vale we played? Beat them 2-1, wasn't it?
I think so, yeah.
So you will have games like that from time to time. It just depends how much the manager might look at it and go, everything is sort of going to plan. We wanted Tyler Diblin to be to just be given minutes slowly. And everything else, Barry, we're gonna put him in slowly. So we'll see. But I don't like I'll be honest, I don't like the idea of that, by the way. I don't like the idea of putting friendlies in the middle of the season. I don't actually think it should be like allowed, especially for Manchester United. You can go and get extra finance. I don't think that's... I don't agree with that. You can get friendlies behind closed doors, but the idea of them going abroad just because they're not playing in a competition that they didn't earn the right to be in, I find that just not on. And if that can be used against their PSR, then I find that really, really, really poor.
Yeah, I think I agree with you there. But I mean, if they're doing it, then why shouldn't we? So.
Yeah, but
that's what I'm trying
we're
to
not
say.
going to. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. But that's the point, isn't it? We're not going to be. No one's going to want to play us. So therefore, we're not going to be able to get that money, and Manchester United will be able to get that money, which puts us at a disadvantage, and that just doesn't seem fair. Really, does it? That's not really. It's not part of your football calendar. You earn the right to be in Europe and earn the right to earn more money and stuff like that. But how the hell do you earn the right to go and have a lucrative friendly in Saudi Arabia, apart from having, the stature that they have? So I don't think it's on at all.
Yeah, I agree with you there. All right, cheers. Thanks
nice
for
one, mate.
All right,
see you later, mate. Ta-ra. See you later. Let's have a look at some of the comments.
That comes up on this. So.
Does it? Yeah. Sorry.
It's okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, I just quit. I think.
Johnny says hello from Hong Kong, lads. Can you figure out why we signed Adnu? He's not ready even to be back up. No, I honestly don't really know. I mean, they've bought him to be back up, but he's not ready. And again, that plays a part. So that's like him and Barry, who don't seem to be quite ready. He seems to be less ready. At what?
Where would you say he ranks in the scale as well at left backs if James Garner plays there over him and then Seamus Coleman plays there over him? Who else is ahead of him? So it's like, is he ready at all? And is it even worth him being on the bench then if you can't trust him to play any game?
I honestly don't know. I
put him with the under-21s.
This is the problem. Well, he has played in the under-21s, hasn't he?
No, but like, I mean, permanently. Like, not permanently, but like he's playing week in, week out for them at least.
Yeah, I mean, why not? Why not see? Why not build his confidence up? Why not give Barry a game in the under-21s?
Yeah.
Especially in that the club, the cup where you play the league teams. Why not give him an opportunity?
Yeah.
We did it with. We did it last season with Beto. So why not give him an opportunity?
When what's it called? Schmitti and Brozier were coming back. They both played in the 21s for a bit. Yeah. I think they had 2 games each, didn't they? And then they got into the first team from it.
So why not just give them a little bit of confidence?
Yeah.
Why not have that confidence? Gareth Hughes says can't call in as work, but managed to get 2 in the family stand for Sunday. So my lad is hyper as waiting for his first visit to Hill Dickinson. Luckily on row 7, as them steps would have me back in Aussie with my knee. Enjoy it, mate. Hopefully we get the 3 points for you. Have we got anyone waiting?
Yeah, we've got Annabelle next.
Go ahead then, get Annabelle on.
All just mixed up, so I don't know which one's which.
I mean, surely Annabelle should be quite easy to identify.
It's just, all I see is ZYJK and all stuff like that.
Yeah.
Annabelle, is this you?
This is me. Hi.
There you go. Yeah. It is Annabelle. Go ahead, Annabelle.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
I hope you're both well.
Yeah, not too bad.
Good.
Jolly good. Most of what I was going to say has already been covered, but I was really disappointed by how pedestrian we were on Monday night and how much just standing around you could see our players do, even when blue shirts had the ball. And that to me is incredibly frustrating because when one of your players has got the ball, everyone should be moving up. And the fact that Jack Grealish has to stand around waiting for someone to catch up for him to feed the ball off, one, just go and take a clean shot. And two, why aren't players actually getting up there and reading the game better? That frustrates the hell out of me.
Yeah. No, I agree. Players seem to just want to stand around and watch Jack Grealish take on 3 players, and it is massively frustrating.
It does seem like players might be a little bit in awe and are too busy looking at him to remember that they're playing with him. And as teams are manning him so heavily, why aren't other players getting themselves loose and going and making opportunities?
I think, Annabelle, it's because they're not. Maybe some of them are just not very good players. I know that's just a very. No, but I mean, I'm not even being nasty when I say that. I'm not being trying to be nasty. I think that's just I think we sometimes forget what the makeup of a good footballer is. You can have good football. You can have footballers who have some part, without picking on him. Dwight McNeil's a really good example. His left foot is honestly as good as anyone's left foot. It is. He's got an unbelievable left foot, but unfortunately, he's let down by he's slow, and he doesn't have the full awareness of what's going on around him. And I think,
and his right foot's the complete opposite.
Yeah, and he's got no right foot. And then you can have other players who, I always think if you go back last few years, and you'll be at Goodison, and the atmosphere won't be brilliant, and people are getting booed and all this, and I hear people say, "Oh, you can't boo players," and all that kind of thing. And I get all that. I do understand all that. But to me, one of the things that makes a good footballer is their psychology, how they deal with pressure. Because if you can't handle what the pressure was like at your home ground, how are you going to handle the quarterfinals of an FA Cup on a Wednesday night in a replay, and you're playing? Well, I know they don't have replays anymore, but you're playing at a toxic ground away. How are you going to handle? So all these different parts of things make good footballers. Some players can look amazing, but then you ask them to go into pressurized situations and they can't deal with it. And I think this is another thing for us, is we have some good players, some lovely players. I look at them, they're great, but then when you ask them to do certain things, they don't react. And I think that's the same with Jack Grealish. It's intelligent footballers work really well with other intelligent footballers, and I just don't know if we've got enough of those intelligent footballers. I think Mikalenko's a really solid.
I do not think we have any intelligent footballers other than those that have been brought in recently. I think there has been a real lack of intuitive footballers, those that can read. I've just finished listening to Duncan Ferguson's autobiography, Big Dunk.
It's a great listen.
And the stuff that he talks about, especially towards the ends of the book, where he's talking about the feel of when a ball leaves your foot, you know whether it's going to go in or not, because you know by the sound. And it's that is how you can tell that he was one of those incredibly elite players who have an innate ability to understand the game. And his assessment of some players was scathing.
Yeah, it was, and he was right on most of them.
I don't disagree. And I think that to hear somebody talk like that, one, is very refreshing. But two, it would be very useful if players could get, one, someone who could come in and talk about those kind of skills with players, not just about being on a training pitch with them, but to actually talk about what it means to understand intuitively the game, because there are elements of it that can be taught. And then also why I advocate really heavily for sports psychologists to be part of backroom staff permanently, and why players should have therapy, because in order to deal with the pressures that they have to deal with and the commitments that they all have now, I think it would be really beneficial for players to help get some mental strength to help them deal with the games.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's that next level, isn't it? And we just don't have that next level of player yet. And I think we have good players, but we don't. Do we have that next level of player? And do we have? How much do they think about the game? You're absolutely right about Dunk's autobiography, because there is a lot said about what makes a good player now, and you know, all the stats and everything. But now and again, it does come down to like you saying there, like the feel of it, like a player just understanding the moment and understanding their job and being able to spot a player who's mentally strong enough and has got that capability to run out there every single week. And it's part of what makes good players. We've seen lots of good players come to our football club who just don't make it, who don't have that. Look at Grealish straight away. So you see him when we play, he just drifts with the ball. His first touch, he just kills it. He never gets flustered. You know, when it's getting away from him, he knows how to win a foul. He's very, very cute in the way he plays. And that's the level. When we had James Rodriguez, very, very similar. There's a grace about them. They just stroll around the pitch. It's effortless. And you can see it. It's like, there's just and when you see other players and it just looks and feels hard for them, and when they're doing like doggies around the pitch to prove they're doing something, it's like you're not really doing stuff. And I think we have to, obviously, and it's not going to happen straight away, we have to buy those players going forward who look effortless in the way they play. And you look at them, like I was watching, I think everyone saw like Juve, their left back, on Monday night, and straight away you were just like, he's a good player. That is what a good player looks like. Up and down, no issue. You know, we go back to Luca Dean when we had him at left back. You had Luca Dean and he was just like, he's got no pace, but somehow he was always in the right position. He was always finding a way to get the ball into the box. He was perfect. And now we have players who look like some players. I'm not picking on anyone in particular, but we have some players who look like they're working really, really hard, but there's no real end product. You know, I've said this sort of like day one about Michalenko. He's a good, solid defender, but I'd swap him for Luca Dean in a heartbeat. I wouldn't have any. There wouldn't be any emotion about it whatsoever. You know, and on the other side, Jacob Brien.
Frankly, at the moment, I'd swap him for Leighton Baines still.
Well, I'd swap him for Leighton Baines now as well, yeah. On the other side, it's exactly the same. You've got Jacob Brien doing a job in there, but no one can tell me that he should be there for the rest of the season. There's not a chance on earth. We need to go up to that next level, and that's going to be the difficult part, isn't it? Going up to that next level.
I say all the time that for too many years, Everton have either been a stepping stone club or a retirement plan for Man United players.
Yeah.
We have for too long been at I'm not even sure, second tier level in the Premier League. I mean, certainly not Championship level, but we haven't been buying good players. We've been buying adequate players.
Yeah.
And that really shows, especially when you've got to do the wholesale change that we've had to do. The fact that we have got so many adequate players, and I think when you get somebody who is truly talented, like when we had Lukaku, like when we had Luca Dean, like when we're now with Jack Grealish, that is where you can see the gaps in other players' abilities. Yeah. And as I said, maybe they would benefit from getting some top players in to have a chat with them and say, well, when I was playing, this is what I used to rely on. When you play, do you listen for this sound? Do you think about moving here? And there will be a lot of players who will be very offended by that idea because, you know, well, they're Premier League players for a start. So they are the elite of the elite, no matter what.
No, I disagree with that. I disagree with that slightly.
Nobody should ever rest on their laurels and feel that they cannot be improved.
No. But I do slightly disagree because it's only because Premier League players are not Champions League players. That's all. They're not.
No.
They're not. They are on a level, but I think the Premier League is. It's got a bit of range in it, hasn't it? It's got a bit of. They are top players, but I also think that what we're talking about, Jack Grealish is a Champions League player. James Rodriguez is was a Champions League player for us.
Yes.
We've got some players who are. We've got Premier League players, and could make a. We'll always be room in the Premier League for them. But are they the kind of players who are going to get you into Europe? And I think we still have. We've gone over the top far too many times about our own players, and maybe we've done that again this season. And maybe we've just got to be careful of that. Of like, we can appreciate players and we can applaud players, but we definitely have to manage our expectations about some of our players because, James Garner's had a great start to the season, but what's his ceiling?
Well, when I say they are the elite of the elite, what I mean is when you talk about in terms of footballers worldwide.
Oh, definitely,
They are the gold standard. If you are playing in the Premier League, if you are playing in Serie A, if you are playing in La Liga, you are gold standard players. You may not be platinum standard.
Yeah.
But you are gold standard.
Yeah,
and that's
absolutely.
The point. After that, you get to platinum. And that's, so I do think that even average Premier League players should be looking at themselves and thinking, how can I improve? But also even better, better players do that already.
Yeah.
And I think too many players rest on their laurels and go, well, I've got it to the Premier League, I've made it. And darling, no, you haven't.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, again, and going back to, I'd say, James Garner looks like he's gone up a level so far this season. He's got really good consistency where he's like a 7 out of 10 every week. Whereas last season, he drifted in and out again. So he's definitely took himself up a level. Whether that's going to be enough, I'm not sure as we go forward. But straight away, he has moved himself up. And maybe some of the players haven't quite gone there yet. I think Mikalenko over his time at Everton has certainly gone from being at one level to the next level, but the level I want to be him to be at, he's definitely not there yet. And one of the reasons is because he hasn't got any pace. So therefore, you're already at a disadvantage because he hasn't got any pace, and it's how you manipulate the game without having that pace. And that's why I think we need. I think we need a left back and a right back, and then obviously centre forwards. It's intuitive of their whole package, and we don't know about Barry yet. A lot of people, I think, are worried about that signing because he hasn't even shown for some people the basics yet. But there's definitely, and you only have to look again. Someone like Carlos Alcaraz, who only came in January. Moyes already seems to have gone past him, which is a bit of a worry, considering he did sign him in the summer. So, yeah, we're moving forward, but it's still not at that kind of speed, is it? That we want to see. But it was always going to be difficult needing to sign so many players in the summer.
Absolutely, and we didn't get all the positions that we desperately needed. And we certainly didn't fill in some of the holes that are there. So I've always said it's going to take 4 windows at least to improve. We've had one. It's just that none of us want to have to wait for the next 3.
No, we just haven't got any patience. And yeah. I was just going to say, you read some of the comments. I mean, I'm looking at 2 sets of comments right now, and there are like people already calling for David Moyes or saying we have to leave David Moyes or David Moyes is part of the problem. And it's like we have to be a little bit more patient.
Yes. But I think that is actually part of the problem, is that we have chopped and changed far too much. We desperately need some stability and some consistency at the club.
Yeah.
I do think that Moyes is the right man to bring that. He's already steadied the ship a great deal, but we have to give ourselves time to catch up to where we are. the change has been so great. We actually need to consolidate what we've got and be moving forward gently without throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
Yeah, I think, you're right, because half the problem is football fans, all football fans, me included, we forget you just mentioned it, we forget very, very quickly. Like, we want to move, you're at a certain level and you hate it, and then you move away from that level and you're like, phew. And then within a few months, you get sick of that level because it's not where you want to be. And then even if you move up, you get sick of that level because you always want to be higher and you always want to win every single week. And that, like, I'll take what I'm watching right now over what I was watching this time last year and last December. Do you know what I mean? And it's only, we're not even a year away from where we were right then.
But we're a stratosphere away from it in terms of enjoyment.
Go back to the last game at Bournemouth where Everton didn't even try to win a game of football, and the guy was happy with losing 1-0 because it meant we only conceded 1 goal. Go back to that and then go, wow, this is terrible. What we're watching right now isn't terrible. What it is it's early in the season. We're probably around the position we should be in. All this notion of like, we're going to challenge, we're going to be top 6. You know what, right? We might be challenging for Europe. We're just going through a moment right now where we're trying to find where we are. Look at some of the teams below us. Some of the teams below us are in Europe and haven't even properly kicked off their European runs yet. Newcastle's and Forests Villa, who are trying to get their season going. The problem for us is we started, in our eyes, quite well, and then it's took a little backward step, and people are still fuming over the Wolves game. And things do take time. And also, as I said before, we sometimes overestimate the quality of our players, and it makes some our minds run wild. We're gonna be amazing because we bought him, and him. It's like, come on. Really?
Well, I will say that it's quite refreshing to be disappointed with games and to feel frustrated at getting draws, instead of thinking, oh, thank God that was 1 point.
Yeah. We're disappointed because our last 2 home games we have drawn instead of won. Now, they might have been 2 games last season that we lost, and certainly Villa we did lose in. And of course, for some people, obviously it doesn't move quick enough, but I'm not... The thing with the transfer window is you can look at the transfer window and you can talk about the transfer window and whether we got enough or we didn't get enough. When that window shuts, you've got what you've got and you can only work with what you've got then. And then it's a case of making those players better. That doesn't happen overnight. It takes a little bit of time. When you buy ready-made players like Jack Grealish or bring them on loan or Dewsbury Hall, it's a lot easier. But when you bring a talent in from other countries that aren't quite up to speed with the Premier League, it can take a little bit of time, and it can be frustrating. I remember watching the first few games when Marouane Fellaini played for Everton, and he was absolutely dreadful. Like, his debut against Liverpool was one of the worst performances I've ever seen anyone ever play for Everton. And then David Moyes said, no, you know what, I'm going to start playing you up front, take the pressure off you, get you used to the Premier League by playing you up front. And the next minute we had a player on our hands, and hopefully that might be the case for, say, a couple of our players this season. Who knows? But I think we just need to. It is frustrating, and it can be. You go to the game and you want Everton to be amazing, but I think we do forget very quickly how bad we were. Just 10 months ago, 11 months ago. Now we were absolutely terrible.
Well, Ped, I promise you, I still have nightmares about that, so I have not forgotten. The Dyche era is very, very soundly etched into my soul as one of the darkest periods in the club.
Yeah.
I shall let other people get on and talk now because I have been on for far too long.
No,
thank you very much for your time.
You've soothed a lot of people. Annabelle. Thank you for your call.
Thank you.
Have a good evening, everyone.
Have a good evening. Good night. Bye now. Stay calm, Annabelle. Just relaxing us all. Just keeping us all calm. Maybe we should get Annabelle to do like the instant match reaction.
After a loss,
Just that off, just keeping everyone a little bit calm. Just keeping everyone a little bit calm.
We've got Alex next.
Okay, get Alex on.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Go on, Alex, mate. You all right?
How we doing?
Not too bad, mate. Not too bad.
Always nice to follow such a good call off Annabelle there.
Oh, yeah.
See if I can do it some service.
You got a lot to live up to, mate. And if you don't, then that's on you, isn't it? Really, you know what I mean. You're gonna have to look in the mirror and judge how you can be a better human being. But that's
why I do. That's why I do phone call-ins rather than video ones. But it's all good.
Okay.
But look, I just wanted to talk about the game. I think a lot of what I'm going to say probably is slightly repetitive, but I thought there was some positives in things that we did. I really liked how we were pressing high, and particularly in the first half, we were winning the ball really high, and that was good to see. Like, you don't do that by chance; you do it by good quality and wanting to win the ball high. I thought it was good. I thought that certainly some of these games, West Ham haven't played well, not confident, new manager, they were always going to sit in. But I thought for large passages of the game, we did okay with the ball. It wasn't totally negative, but I was, and we were just definitely trying to carve out chances. The one that Grealish laid off for Ghana, where the goalie somehow bounced off him. It didn't look like very convincing a save, but that was the same pattern of play that was the goal against, who was it? One where he hit it really low. Was it Brighton?
Grealish. Wasn't it?
The Ghana goal, James Garner, the one where he hit
against
it
Brighton. Yeah, sorry, Brighton. Yeah, sorry.
It was almost the same. So
it was.
In that sense, it was good. I think the reality is it showed a few. It was interesting seeing West Ham because it showed a few things. One is that when you got a player like Somerville who's just got raw pace.
Yeah.
Like Bowen, other than the goal, did nothing the whole game.
No, he didn't do anything.
And Somerville's pace, again, and then obviously you put him next to O'Brien, and I think O'Brien for a £17 million utility defence player is fantastic. And I know, Ped, when I listen to you talk, you always say it's unfair of us to judge him as a right back because he's not a right back.
Yeah.
It's just glaringly obvious that was the case, and it does. In that situation, it made me wonder when you've got players on the bench like Alcaraz that you don't at halftime go, look, to James Garner, I know this isn't your position, but we're getting murdered here. You need to go in there and just mark him out of the game. Just neutralise him because the impact of James Garner in midfield wasn't as important as the impact of James Garner just stopping Somerville from running rings around us because that was all the threat. I think so. I think certainly the right back piece we talked a lot. There was one point in the game where there was a ball. I'm about to contradict myself here. There was a ball I think Garner put down the channel to Beto. He just ran out of play.
Yeah.
So this notion that the first caller, this notion that we don't provide the right service to strikers. If you put the ball in the position that Beto needs it in, and he just runs out of play, that tells me that the striker's not doing the right things, and I just don't believe that. I don't believe that the service is what it's about. My concern with the new players, Dibbling and Barry, you kind of made a comment earlier about Diouf, the left back for West Ham, and you said, Ped, you could just see that he's a good player. You can just see. Yeah. There's a few things with Dibbling, and I look at it and think, you've got a trick, you've got some good sort of strength and control, but I'm also like, he'll be good, he'll be fine. Whether he'll be the player that we've invested 40 million in, I'm not sure. With Barry, I look at him and think, I get that you're raw, but he had a bit of Moise Ken about him. It's like you don't even know where you're on the pitch.
I'll be honest with you, mate, and I'm being totally honest. It is difficult, isn't it? Me and James were having a conversation about weights before, and some Liverpool fans, I think Carragher, has basically come out and said today, like, let's stop all the talk now. Weights has done nothing for Liverpool so far, and there is that we can all. There's that famous thing of when Thingo signed for us from Ajax,
Classen.
And we were all like, yeah, did you see that run he did off the ball? And we all just like, and it was in the end, it was like, it become a bit of a joke. It's that run he did that made the space that we scored that goal. Like, it's not excuses for Barry, but there will be a point where we all go, what's going on here? Like, do you know what I mean? And you're absolutely right. It's like, you're absolutely right. You want to, the average fan isn't stupid. You can't keep saying to people, and by the way, I don't believe we're anywhere near this point yet because I don't think he's had enough game time.
No.
But you can't keep saying to people it's going to be all right if someone is not showing you the app. Like I said to someone yesterday, he's like, I don't remember seeing Barry having a shot on target yet. And I was told he had one shot on target against Brighton. I was like, okay, he had one shot. I don't remember it. But it's like, you can't. They are footballers. He did cost a hell of a lot of money. You know, everyone's got a right to say, I don't see it yet. So that's why I'd like to see Barry get like 3 or 4 games in a row so that at least we can all go, looks like a footballer in there. Because you're right, what you said about Moise Ken was, there was a player in there and people are seeing that player now. And Adam Ola-Luckman was exactly the same. But we can't do that again. We can't be the club that buys these up-and-coming players and just don't give them a chance and just sit them on the bench and go, well, he's a really good player, but why isn't he playing then? Well, because he's not ready yet. So why is he on our bench then? Why isn't he on loan somewhere? Or why did we buy him if he's going to take that much development? Because we are not a club. And David Moyes, as much as I love David Moyes or have loved David Moyes, he is not the coach. He is definitely not the coach to give young players an opportunity. He never has been, bar maybe Victor Anichebe and who was built like a tank, and James Vaughan. Maybe all of these players. You know, someone just put in the comments there, Robinson. Like, we let Robinson go for like £1 million to Wigan. Like that's like one of the worst deals we've ever done ever.
Jack
I remember
Rodwell,
speaking.
maybe.
Yeah, well, I mean, his career sort of went. I think maybe David Moyes knew something about his injury record, but we are not a great club for like young players to come in and be given opportunities. We are not a Brighton, we are not a Bournemouth, we are not a Brentford, all the Bs. We are not a place where players get opportunities. Because one thing I think me and Baz had this conversation the other day was, if you bring a Barry in, you've got to have a really good centre forward already at your club so that there's absolutely zero pressure on Barry. So he can go, well, I've got him up front playing and I can just come off the bench and I'll be fine because I've got this guy scoring the goals and that takes all the pressure off me. You know, the guy Brentford have got now scoring the goals, he had Wissa, he had
Tony,
all these players. Tony before him, before him was Ollie Watkins. There was a nice succession of players behind the next one. We've got Barry, and the player in front of him's Beto. I mean, what chances he got? He's not going to have. There's not a chance we're all going to go, oh, we're totally confident Beto's going to score the goals. So it leaves, and I think that's where Everton have made a mess of this. By the way, I really do. I believe they've made a massive mess of this situation. They've heaped too much pressure on Barry because fans just don't. You got to know your fan base. Our fans don't have the patience for a player to come good over a year when the guy who's ahead of him isn't scoring the goals. So that to me is a worry.
Yeah, and look, I think you made a really good point about, and I'd not thought about it, about Lukaku and our expectations of a player coming in being almost at that level. You know, we're a club that have a deep history with and a relationship with a strong number 9, right? And I think that has something to do with it. Where I'd probably disagree a little bit is Lookman. Look, I don't really understand the backstory to that, but I think to the football eye, when you saw Lookman, you thought there's something there with him. With Moise Ken, I genuinely thought there was a coach explaining to him how the offside rule worked. I was like, he was genuinely just didn't. So to me, I never saw it, and I think there's certain players like Beto. He could leave in January and go to Italy and look like a really good player, that's a reflection of a different league. But for me, I think the comments that have come in the call in today about where we're at, what we're trying to be, and you made a good point about not trying to get too far ahead of ourselves. You know, we always forget very quickly how bad it was, and we were worried whether we were going to have the best stadium in the championship, etc. Yeah, I think the reality is you've got to look at it as it is. Michael Keane has been a good player for us at a time when Bradthwaite's been injured. But the reality is, what players of ours get into the top 4 or 5 teams in the league at the moment? You know, probably Branthwaite, Pickford. I mean, Grealish isn't our player, but
Well, I was going to say,
I would argue maybe even Njai wouldn't. You know, I love Njai, and I think he had a really tough game against a good left back on Wednesday, and you know, Njai didn't stop, and I'd never have a bad word against him. And I thought Dewsbury Hall was excellent. And by the way, I know you talked about it. The refereeing decision for that was it was shocking, and I love it. And to me as a fan, what do we want, and what are we trying to get to? And I think that's probably the point of the call was, you know, we're a fan base that are a big club. We've had success in our history, maybe not near history. And I heard a few calls on TalkSport about West Ham. And there was a guy that called in. He said, "I don't want this 60,000 stadium. I just want us to have a good cup run. And I'm happy for us to finish 8th." And maybe that's not a fair reflection of what all West Ham fans believe.
Yeah.
But Everton aren't that.
Yeah. Oh, I've lost him.
Gone.
Have you lost him?
Yeah.
I don't even know what he wants because he's gone. So let's try and get him back as soon as possible.
Says he's still in the room. It's just no sounds coming
Nope. No, can't hear you, mate.
Leave and join back, Alex. And see if
Yeah,
that works.
join, come back, Alex, because you were making a really good call there. The point I was trying to make there is like, whatever's happened to Luchman, whatever's happened to Moise Keane, whatever's happened to any of these young players, we didn't do
Sorry, you still there?
Go on, mate. Go on.
Mikalenko was just running the channels, and Grealish wasn't passing to him, and it was just looking for Dewsbury Hall all the time.
Yeah.
But I think Garner's stepped up. I think Garner's at the level of James Garner. Idris is there. Branthwaite's come back. You know, a lot of us as fans wanted more, and that's a great thing.
Yeah.
But I think we're moving in the right direction.
Yeah.
It's so blatantly obvious where we've got deficiencies in right back and striker. And, you know, the reality is the club, this is where we have people, senior people, that we pay a lot of money to say, guys, we need to sort this out because come January, you know, we've got to do something and we've got to find a way.
Well, you just made two good points there. I can hear myself in the background, which is really weird. You've made 2 good points there about number one, talking about like Everton being a big club. Well, by the very nature of us having 50,000 fans in the ground, that makes us a big club, doesn't it? And there's an idea sometimes of expectation, of like what our expectations are, or like when people go, you think you're a big club but you haven't won anything for ages, so you shouldn't, you know, why do you think you've got the right to do it? But it's not, if you think about it, it's not, it's just, it ends up being, if it ends up being 50,000 people all moaning, it creates noise. It creates noise that other clubs don't have. Like if you've got a Brentford, I'm always the same bees, aren't I? Brentford, Brighton, you know, whatever. You've got, they're small clubs with like maybe 20-odd thousand fans that, you know, you go to some games, we've all been to them, and you wonder whether their fans think about that team from that Saturday to the next Saturday. Like, I've been to like Southampton games and walked out and just gone, yeah, like, and you go, do they actually, like, literally one of the reasons why this channel is successful and has been successful is because Everton fans watch it and care every single day. We did a show earlier and it was a little bit tongue-in-cheek, me and Charlotte, and we had people kicking off on us going, you're not talking about football enough. It's like, we did. We talked about Everton and we talked about Everton women, but people are like, got people going, that was the worst show you've ever done because you didn't talk about Everton for 2 hours. Like, it was like, even though there's going to be a phone in later on, it's like Everton fans, and there's not just us, there's obviously other channels. We are, it's non-stop. All we want to do is talk about Everton. All we want to do is will our team to be better, and that is the mark of in many ways. And we have people, by the way, from all over the world watching this.
Yeah.
That is the mark of what a big club is, isn't it? There's an expectation. Just because there's 50,000 people.
He's gone again.
Well, I'll just continue till you get him back. There's 50,000 people who go the match. There's more than 50,000 people who want to go the match. That creates an expectation on the club that the club have to handle. So when one person asks a question, thousands more are asking the same question, and then thousands or more are disagreeing and are asking another question. And it's...
You know the danger of that, Pez?
Go on.
You know the danger of that is big clubs, and we've seen it with United, right? Big clubs can be run so badly for so long and still survive because they're big clubs. And all the small clubs you just talked about, if they're not run well and they're not run properly, they hit the wall. Stoke is a good example, right? They did really well. You know, Southampton is another example. We are a big club. I just think that when you see where we are going, it's you know, I think every Everton fan would just call it cautious optimism. We've got the stadium, we've got the manager, we've got the CEO, we've got the ownership. You know, we've had this false dawn. And you see the patterns, right? You see the fact we go out and buy 5 number 10s, and you're like, why have we done that? That was really
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Are you still looking over your shoulder as an Everton fan? Genuinely? I'll give you my answer. I'll give you my answer. I am.
It's a great question.
I am still, and I have no issues saying this, I am still worried about relegation. Genuinely. And because I can't get... I don't get flustered about anything. As in, I know people think I do, but I don't, right? Nothing worries me, honestly, other than flying over water. Nothing worries me, right? I don't get flustered about anything. I'm other than Everton. Everton is my anxiety, which is maybe I'm in the wrong job. But nothing worries me. Nothing worries me in the world other than Everton. And that anxiety is still... I still have that anxiety of... doesn't, you know, the 2 of the 3 who've come up have started well. I still... And I can't speak for other people, but I've still got that anxiety. And I wonder how many other people have got that anxiety of we need to get away from the bottom area of the table as quick as we can. And I just wonder whether that plays in this, if that fear is part of what drives other people as well. I know. Go on.
Season, I think, and that's the first thing. I think the other thing is when you watch games like the West Ham game, you think, wow, we're looking really good here. And then all of a sudden you're just like, wow, like we look crap. We'll have 5 minutes in a game where we'll just look really weak and exposed, and I think that's where you know that's where the old PTSD kicks in. Because you look at it and you think, geez, we really we've made an average team, a pub team in West Ham, look like world beaters. But you have to be careful about that, don't you? Because you then forget that for 60 minutes of the game we dominated the ball, and you just remember 10 minutes where we looked like every single time West Ham got the ball they could score. And I think that's where, but I also think that's where the progression's going to have to come in, and we're probably going to have to weather that storm this season. And
of course,
and that's why for me, this season is not really about where we finish to a point. You know, not that I want us to be in a relegation fight, but anything north of 14th is to me if we've seen the progression in where the team's going, and I think ultimately that's why, although it was a cup competition, you look at the Wolves game and you think that wasn't progression, because we had a lot of players that we bought, a lot of players that are probably knocking on the door going, come on Gaffer, when am I getting a game? And then you gave him a game, and to your point around giving Barry 3 games, my concern is he looked like he was going to get a red card in that game, just for
No, he did
and you know, regardless of whether Moisey wants or doesn't want young players, you can't have that as a liability. Because on top of that,
absolutely.
Any manager has seen that and gone, if Wolves can rough this guy up in 15 minutes, you could get him sent off in 20, and you just can't have that. You know, you see it with Chelsea. All these young players getting sent off for just going mad. So look, I think you're right. I'm looking over my shoulder a little bit, but
Yeah.
at the same time, I also think there's just lots of things to be optimistic about,
No, there is absolutely.
and you just got and now the only thing we can all do, because at the end of the day we're fans, and we're not spending all our time talking about PSR and points deductions, which by the way is the biggest relief ever. It's now we've got to trust Angus Kinnear and the rest of that lot,
Yeah.
that mob, and go. You know where it is. You've got the eye test. We're all saying it. Just go and fix it.
Yeah.
And if it's January, and we can be smart and we can get a couple of loans for players that want to be in the World Cup squads for their respective countries, let's do it. And if we have to weather it out, and we'll do it. But next summer, it gets done.
Yeah.
The rest of it is just, you know, I just think beyond that, it's clear that there's players that just aren't to the level, but they're going to be good squad players like Keane, like Mikalenko,
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
O'Brien, and they'll just work hard for us at the end of the
Well,
season. And as an Everton fan, I've got
yeah.
nothing but respect for
And
that.
you have to just buy the next level and make them squad players, and that's the only way it's going to work. This is the other thing. This, Alex, just before I let you go, this is the other thing that Evertonians, and I think we are all guilty of this. By the way, all of us are guilty about this. When Everton don't get a result that we want, which is obviously to win, it's never anything to do with what the opposition has done well. It's always to do with what Everton have done badly. Always. Very, very rarely do we, as a fan base, and I don't know whether this is a general thing in football, and it probably is a general thing in football, we never take time to go, wow, they were good then, weren't they? We always go, God, weren't we bad today? And that might be a general thing in football, but I just know from, it's always us, it's always what we did wrong rather than what the opposition done right. I think that's why it is important to, and that's why it is important. Yeah. It's important to look at West Ham.
Left side of that left side,
exactly.
Somerville, I would have put them in the Everton team, no problem. They were fantastic.
Exactly.
And they caused us problems. And Villa, would you have said last season a 0-0 draw against Villa is the worst thing in the world? I think to your point though, Ped, we played again and we neutralised them to a point that actually we think that we should have got a result. But you're right. Like at the end of the day, there's going to be games we're going to play against through the season where we can't just assume that teams are going to come here and get their tummies tickled. We've got to respect it. But look, I think, like I said, I think there are absolute positives. Like when you see us winning the ball on the edge of their 18-yard box, when you see us on their goal kicks with 4 players standing on the edge of their 18-yard box going, go on then, try and play it short. We're going to win this back before you can get it to our halfway line. I'll be honest, that makes me feel happy, as opposed to, having Rondon or someone like that standing on the halfway line and the rest of our players on the edge of our 18-yard box. We are doing the right things. We just got to keep going with it. And there's going to be some crap draws. There's going to be some scrappy wins, and I'm hoping Palace is one of those. And there's probably a couple of away games where we get properly whacked, and that's just that's what being an Everton fan. My son is the only Everton fan in his school, and I said to him, "Do you ever get annoyed about the fact we always lose and draw?" And he went, "No, it's just what makes me different to everyone else." So that's what it is being an Everton fan. Well, at least these parts, anyways.
Yeah. Oh,
cheers,
well.
lads.
Cheers, Al. Nice one, mate. See you later. Ta-da, mate. Ta-da.
Got one caller left.
Good call from Alex there.
Can you guess who it is?
Is it Brien Garside?
It's not Brien Garside.
Oh, I can't think of. Hang on, isn't Fletch barred?
It is Fletch.
Didn't we bar him on
Do you want to talk us through him?
Hang on, no.
You did bar him on
Didn't we bar him for not giving us the third question on Thursday?
No, he's waited.
Remember when we barred him for not giving us the third question? He disappeared.
Yeah.
And he didn't give us the third question for round the tower.
We did get him in trouble with his mum and dad.
We never got him in trouble. He got himself in trouble.
It was on the phone with him.
His mum shouting at him on the phone. Go on, get Fletcher on.
Hello.
We'll accept it. Accept the charges.
We can't hear you, Fletcher, if you're speaking.
That's the way I like it. Great call. This is a great call so far. One of Fletcher's best calls, this. I'm enjoying it. I'm not being all ass, Emma. You know the rules. We do round the tower. It's 3 questions. You know that, and he didn't fulfil. And I've let him on, but he's decided to not talk.
He's leaving and joining back.
Okay. It's the best call Fletcher's ever done. This is incredible stuff.
Thrilling
Stuff.
He hasn't been back yet either, so
Give him a couple of minutes. Here we go. Yes, Fletch, do us a favour, just stand in one place. Go on.
I don't know what happened then. I just wouldn't let wouldn't let the sound through.
No.
I didn't know I was bad. I'm sorry. I did not ask the first question on the round the tower.
No, you see, you didn't come back. You just left.
And
you did,
no
yeah.
way.
It's
Sorry,
all right.
I'm in and out, and I like to always get the good opportunities to make my point, because what would have changed, man? Like, what would have changed? I mean, to answer the question, I think when it comes to the manager himself, I think the manager has been to blame for just the slight blip in our form recently, because I like the way we stopped the Rock at West Ham. We didn't play particularly well in parts of it, but it wasn't a loss. So that's something. We're still unbeaten at Hill Dickinson Stadium, right? Compared to the likes of Spurs, Crystal Palace, etc., and everything else, just to steady the ship. But his in-game management, in my opinion, has got to change, because when it comes to starting between Barry and Beto's slipping at the moment, and Barry's not getting the opportunity to sort of show what he can do. And I think Barry should start over Beto, myself personally. What would have changed against Crystal Palace is I put Alcaraz in Dewsbury Hall's position for the game to see how that works, because I wouldn't change too much I think Jack Grealish particularly, and Njai, for example, I think those 2 players, right, are comfortable in what David Moyes is trying to achieve. They're expressing themselves. They're doing well. They're making chances, and they're playing some good football. And what I'd change from David Moyes is it's questionable for me, his substitutions, because honestly, mate, I was screaming at the telly at West Ham on Monday night, saying, right, on the 58th minute, right, when we were 1-0 up, right, we need to mix up the tempo now. We need to attack and get the second goal. But he didn't make a substitution until the 80th minute. And by then, if you're looking at the way Everton play, because we take time to adjust to those substitutions, it's too late. He did the same against Liverpool.
No, you're right, Fletch. You've made a very solid point. His subs are.
Do you know what I mean? I wouldn't change too much about us at the moment, right? Because it's still early days in the league, and we're still growing into the league, right? And obviously, we've been kicked out the cup. But having said that, we're still unbeaten at the Hill Dickinson Stadium, so we're in it. Do you know what I mean? We're in the competition. I know it's not good enough saying we're in it, but we're not in dire straits like West Ham were before Monday night, where Graham Potter, and we could have been. Do you know what I mean? Because a lot of us, including myself, were saying Graham Potter would be a good fit for Everton. But going back to the point, what would to change? I put Alcaraz in Dewsbury Hall's position, right? I give him 70 minutes, 75 minutes, right? And I wouldn't mess too much with the way Njai likes to play, the way Grealish likes to play. And with the striking position at the minute, I'd start Barry. We need to start thinking more long term now, rather than just a half each, a full game here and there. We need to start putting our cards down on the table now and saying, right, who's our first choice? Who's our first choice? And Beto, he's slipping now. I was saying his touch is improving. He wasn't scoring goals, but his touch is gone. And it's like, what are you trying to do? You're trying to play like Barry, and Barry's trying to play like you. It's just, it gets me. I'm outraged by it a lot of the time when watching it.
No, you sound outraged, Fletch. No, you're right. I mean, there are 2 ways. I mean, would you not be like? Would you not go more attacking maybe on Sunday and play Grealish, Njai and Diblin rather than play Carlos Alcaraz?
I don't. I don't know. If it's a simple swap, that's what I'd do. But if we were trying to change the style of play, I don't think we need to do much to change it. We need to get a grip of our tempo, and in terms of controlling the game. And and I don't want to sound like David Moyes has reached his ceiling already, because I don't think that's a factor. I think it's more to do with, this is the players we brought in the summer, and this is what we can do with those players this season. And now we're starting to see the troubles with the right back situation, and us not bringing a right back in. Maybe we can get one in January.
Yeah.
But I'm not 100% sure. I think I'd stick with what we've got. I stick with the team that play at West Ham, and I'd take Dewsbury Hall out of the team. Well, obviously I wouldn't take him out, but I'd swap in and do a straight swap for Alcaraz and see how that works, because I want us to get to where we were playing against Newcastle last game of the season. We played really well. We played excellently. Last game of the season against Newcastle, we could have potentially knocked them out of the Champions League places had results gone better for us elsewhere, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, well, sadly that didn't happen, but
exactly, it didn't happen, did it? But that's what we need. I don't think we need to change too much. We need to trust the manager now, just to progress the manager. And when you were saying before about him, David Moyes not being the manager to bring in young players, I'd have to disagree with that, Ped. I think in his first spell at Everton particularly, I think he was always optimistic about bringing in young talented players and helping them progress and move forward.
You have to remind me who those players were then.
Well, it's that long ago now. No, in terms of the back,
you weren't even born. What are you talking about? You weren't even born.
I'm 28, Ped.
Oh my God! If you're 28, then no wonder the country's fallen to bits.
What's that?
No wonder the country's on its knees. If you're 28.
Oh no.
Nice one, Fletch.
Anyway, onwards and upwards. I think, like you said, the manager just needs to change a few in-game tactics. But they're the most important thing for us at the minute, just to make. It's fine margins. It's honestly fine margins in terms of us being able to create those chances, in terms of us being able to complete those chances. That's what it's about. It's the fine margins we need to improve on now.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right,
nice one, Fletch.
No worries, I'll see you
soon. See you later. Ta-ra, mate. Ta-ra, mate. There you go. Fletch. Who knew that Fletch was 28? It's incredible. Here's some breaking news for you. Are you ready for this, James?
Ready.
A 65-year-old man has been banned from Hill Dickinson Stadium.
What for?
I'll tell you. An Everton fan has been banned from Hill Dickinson Stadium after he was accused of trying to steal a row of seats from Goodison Park as a memento. Stephen Arlinson was charged with attempted theft and criminal damage in relation to an incident on May the 3rd when Everton played Ipswich.
What?
Arlinson.
Is he related to Richard?
He might be, he might be related. 65-year-old from Herefordshire was alleged to trying to take seats from Goodison Park at one of the last games of the season as a memento, because he remarked that he presumably didn't want to pay the £90 for the club were charging. He tried to remove an entire row of seats by removing bolts from the framework. Apparently, the judge said it was a rather daft thing for a 65-year-old man to find himself in Crown Court for.
And now he's banned for life, or is it
3 years? There has been an informal resolution which involved Mr. Arlinson agreeing to pay some money to Everton's charity. They are happy with that as a resolution, and the prosecution is happy with that resolution. The defendant has now been banned from the new stadium until at least the end of the season. So it's the end of the season, sorry. The prosecution do not intend to proceed. I submit that there's been evidence which could have been convicted. He was caught on CCTV, attempting to remove seats and causing damage. Given payment to the Everton community, given the circumstances in which the offence was allegedly committed and the harm caused, the prosecution would like to take the view that it would not be in the public interest to proceed with this. So there you go.
Well,
banned for the rest of the season, and he's had to pay money because he tried to rob seats, which, let's be honest, loads of people wanted to do.
I'm surprised only one person got caught, or that we know of.
That we know of. There you go. What a time to be alive. A row of seats, though. That's tremendous.
What did he want the full row for?
He must have had a big coat. It was warm that day as well. He must have been absolutely sweating.
Really big bag.
Yeah.
Like,
really
Dr.
big
Who's
bag for seats. Maybe he's just trying to take one, but like, so it was like trying to just dismantle the row to take the one. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. Right. I think we're done. There you go. And good show. Good show. Loads of good callers. That's what we like to see. Right. We'll be back tomorrow at 1 o'clock. So catch us then. See you all later. Bye.